So welcome to both of
Right.
you. And Rajat, if
Thank
I may
you.
start with you, if you could just give our audience a quick background in terms of what you do, a little bit about your background and what's inspired you to do what you're doing, as well as something around the business model of Pataa and the problem it's trying to solve. Over to you, Rajat.
Yeah, perfect. So, hi everybody. I am Rajat Jain. I'm co-founder of Pataa Technologies. And to give you a background, actually, I come from a pharma background. And back in 2013, Mohit, my younger brother, and I, we both started a company called as Kimirica. So, Kimirica. Kimirica is the company. Kimi is Mohit's wife, and Rika is my wife. That is how it happens to be Kimirica. And today, like after starting from scratch in 2013, today we have become India's largest manufacturers of hotel toiletries and the cosmetic products. So every hotel you go in is stay like Marriott's, Hyatt's, or Hilton's. Those kind of all hotels, they use our products, and we started from scratch. And today we have almost 800 people working with us in Indore. So that is one part of it. Also, Kimirica has now recently expanded into the retail journey. So we are now present at around 40 locations in India, including Mumbai International Airport, Hyderabad Airport. So, and we are selling the products offline and online both. So that we started, and that has gone really well. And to give you a bit more background on Pata, actually, just before COVID, when we were ordering a lot of things through all these food delivery companies, or you call a cab or you get a parcel, mostly what happens is everybody at the last mile, those delivery guys or a driver, they start giving you a call that भैया कहाँ आना है, मुझे आपका एड्रेस नहीं मिल रहा है, भैया कहाँ आना है. And it happened to be one day actually we hosted a party and we ordered a couple of food delivery things and couple of things from nearby grocery, and everybody was like कि भैया आपका एड्रेस समझा दो, भैया फोन पे आप कैसे समझाएंगे. And that day it clicked like, yeah, this is a big problem. It's like everybody, every citizen in India, they must be doing this. And when we did an initial research, some primary research, some secondary research, we found that India loses 10 to 14 billion dollars every year just because of the poor addressing system. So this report was done by some researchers at MIT, and they actually calculated the whole thing, that how it impacts the day-to-day life, how it impacts the country, especially on the finance side of it. So we are surprised to see that a lot of people, especially like for us as a user, the basic problem is we explain the call to everybody on day-to-day basis. But when we went into depth, we found that all these logistic companies, the last mile delivery companies, they are struggling to find the right addresses. They are not very efficient. The current system of addressing is based on a pin code based model, right? And in India, you all know like pin codes are like, on an average, if you see, according to that report, India, you cover around 179 square kilometers of area in one pin code. So if we are in the city or the town side of it, you still have like 10, 15, 20 kilometers of area. But when you go outside, it's like 180 kilometers, you can't find an address. So that problem really plagued, and we started doing a research on it. We thought that we should solve this problem. This is a big problem, and this is the problem of the whole country, especially the rural part of it, where Spice Money is also working very actively. And you all understand it. What are the small pain points? To open an account for anybody in the village, in the rural areas, you at least need to do the KYC. And for the KYC, one important thing in today's world is the address. And believe me, if you go into the rural areas, you take their electricity bill or Aadhaar card, or if somebody has a PAN card, you will find five different format of addresses written on all the five documents. So somewhere it would be short form, somewhere some else road would be written. And in India, 80% of addresses are landmark based, like Siddhi Vinayak Mandir ke samne, is hotel ke piche, is school ke baju mein. That is how India addresses, right? So we thought, why not we solve this problem? Like tech giants, all these large corporates who are working into direction of maps and navigation, they can take you from point A to point B. But you can't write that. Like in today's world, mostly people share their location if they want to call somebody to their place. But you can't write that WhatsApp location or Google location on an envelope. So how do you solve that problem? That was the initial idea where Pata got like we started the incubation of it, and unfortunately At that point of time, COVID struck and we were struggling with like working from home model. This was a very new project. But in whole 2020, we started building it. And May 2021, actually, we launched Pataa as a product. And as of now, we've got amazing response, like over 8 million downloads now. So this has been the background of Pataa.
No, Rajat, thank you so much. And certain things with Google Maps and Map My, we kind Map My India, we kind of take it for granted, right? This problem has been solved for.
Right.
In fact, as we think about e-commerce and logistics, the general narrative you get from some of the large platforms is that, the pin code based delivery solves for problems. We were tackling other things at Spice Money when it comes to cash payment and digitization of money and all of that. But what you're telling us is that this problem continues. And actually, as individuals, if we connect with this point, it's so true, right? That we also, despite using all these platforms, end up having to talk to someone to finally reach where we need to go, right? Like,
Exactly.
and all of that. So maybe, Rajat, having called out this problem, if you could just help us understand what is it that you're building to solve for this, right? What is it taking to solve for this? And what is the product therefore you're offering? So you mentioned about 8 million downloads. So, what is
Correct.
the product and how does it work?
Exactly. So I'll give you a brief about that. So at Pata, what first thing we wanted to do is we actually, when we did the consumer study, we spoke to a lot of people that how do they explain their addresses. First thing is, in today's world now, what people do is they share a WhatsApp location, right? Like if you're sitting in front of your office, you'll share your WhatsApp location. Somebody coming to that point will come at front of the road. If you're sitting in back of the office, the WhatsApp location goes, it's not precise. It doesn't come at your doorstep. So that's a basic problem with location sharing. And location sharing can't be written. Like you can't write a WhatsApp location or Google location on an envelope. So that is where the problem is. That is first thing. Now, what happens if you see in the e-commerce world? So let us talk about how it works in the e-commerce, because especially in the rural areas, because of this addressing system, not having proper address, people don't have access to e-commerce. They're not able to buy things. They're not able to sell things. A typical process you see, you go on e-commerce website, you write address line 1, 2, 3, 4, city, state, pin code, country, everything you write. And then at the last mile, this delivery guy actually calls you कि भैया कहाँ आना है. You tell him that this is the landmark. Have you seen this temple? And then, okay, take a left from here, take a right from here. You start giving guidance to him, and then you ask him कि आप वो yellow color का घर दिखेगा, आप वहां पर enter होना. This is what the standard consumer journey looks like in terms of addressing. So what we did first is we divided the whole world into 3 by 3 meter squares, so that it becomes very easy for anybody to tag their exact doorstep. So unlike you just share a location on WhatsApp, it could be precise to 65 or 100 meters. But with this system, it is very easy for anybody to tag their location a preciseness of 3 meters. So you can exactly tag your doorstep. Then what we do is we empower the people, the users who download the app, to create a digital address code. So for Rajat, it could be Rajat 07. For Vats, it could be Vats 05. And for like your office, it could be like Spice Money 01. That could be your office address. You can select a digital address code like that, whatever it is, Kumar 100, Rajat 04. Then you can add all your address line, whatever you have in the text. So it's like JV Bhole Road, opposite Agar Bazaar, and all the landmark details, everything you can write. You can tag your exact location to preciseness of 3 meters. You can add photos of your property. You can add videos also. Also, you can record in your own voice. So what you usually do, like at least 2 to 3 times a day, explaining your address on phone to somebody, that exact thing you can record in your own voice and associate with your digital address code. So step one is people download the app, they create their digital address code, and they fill up all the things. Now, when we move forward, say e-commerce and delivery ecosystem. So what we do is, for the e-commerce, we have recently launched the API. So instead of when you online order, you just like you keep on adding addresses on different platforms. So instead of that, you could just write your Pata digital address code. and automatically all the forms, the address lines on the e-commerce website would be filled. There is also a huge churnout on this page, which is actually reduced. People don't want to write their address again and again. And like a lot of websites, we've done a research and we see a lot of churnout happens on that page also. So ultimately that digital address code then goes to the logistic companies who can read that, and any last mile delivery boy who sees that code or that QR code, they can scan, for example, Rajat 04 or Kumar 100, and they can start navigating towards you. So now, when you share the address, instead of writing the whole text address, you can just share a small digital address code, which can go from first mile to last mile. And where this problem is, why are we so much focused on e-commerce and financial systems? What happens in today's world when you call a cab or you order food, you are still able to tag your geolocation. But when you order anything on e-commerce, even the large platform boutique e-commerce companies like Kimerica also, you don't have an option to share your geotag on their platform, right? So all the packages, all the parcels which leaves the hub and manufacturing facility without a geotag, they end up going to the last mile without a geotag. And because of that, they don't have very solid sorting system. They're all sorted just based on pin codes. And it creates a lot of problem for them. So this is how whole Pata system works. So it's just a digital address code which can be like entered into any e-commerce website. It can be associated with any financial institution. It can be added for all the like e-commerce companies, logistic companies, or the food delivery apps and all those things. And the beauty of this app is this, what we've done is with Pata. For example, this becomes a personalized code. So if your code is Srivaths 04 and somebody, I am coming to you and navigating towards you, you get a notification that Rajat is coming to you and you can see my live location while I am driving towards you. So that is how it completes the whole ecosystem. You get timely notification, you can like create the extension. And ultimately, what we want to do in today's world is there are a lot of packages coming from different parcels, right? Like if you order from something from Myntra or Nykaa or Zara, you have 10 different websites to go and track your parcel. And the only information you receive is your parcel is out for delivery. You don't know when it is going to come. You don't know when it will be delivered. They'll be waiting for OTPs at your door. So what happens with Pata when somebody is coming towards you, you already know when they're planning. We give them the optimized route. So this is how we have covered the whole ecosystem with Pata and trying to make a digitized addressing system for the country.
Rajat, it definitely seems to be quite an overwhelming problem you're trying to solve, right? As I'm listening to you, it seems quite overwhelming, right? You know, how we tackle such a large problem? Is it, when you're building the tech for this, when you're building a solution for this, are you leveraging other open platforms to be able to do this? Because you've picked up not a simple problem to solve, right? Like you're saying people have to create these digital address codes, and you're saying there's like 179 square kilometer area to a pin code. You're trying to break it up into 3x3 kind of meter square areas kind of a thing, right? So just the sound of it seems like a lot of heavy lifting on tech, right? Is it that heavy, or it's not? And if it's that heavy, how are you doing it as a startup? Or is there an ecosystem you can write on? Because before I come to Srivaths and we talk about how it could be working in rural India, just walk us through in terms of how complicated this is to solve for, and what is the kind of effort this involves when it comes to tech.
If I talk about tech, I would say it is not that tech heavy, that have like a lot of different things, but the ideology had to be on day one, that how will we solve the problem. So speaking to a lot of customers and doing the consumer surveys, speaking to all the e-commerce websites, what are their problems, speaking to delivery guys, building this whole solution and this journey that yes, we can have a breakup of 3x3 meters and we should have a voice direction also. We can create small codes and we should give the notification. This whole thing was really, like, I would say, tedious, and we had gone into a lot of depth. But building this product, I like this is not really very tech heavy, and like, just to be honest, and we don't use a lot of outside platforms, and we take help of that. Just we use couple of mapping platforms, and they are also very flexible. We could use Apple Maps, Google Maps. Also, we have been recently partnered with ISRO in presence of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. that ISRO and Pataa will work together to create a powerful digital addressing system for the country. So we just need to pick up the lat and long from all these maps and navigation where their satellite imagery is there. So there's only one thing we are taking up from third platforms. Rest everything is built in-house. We have got our own in-house tech team, and they've done a great job focusing especially on the consumer journey and people creating their patas.
Amazing, amazing. So, you've spoken about a couple of things. You've also, spoken about the fact that you can ride with the government and work with them on solving this large problem. Now, Rajat, I just want to kind of zone down to rural India and the challenges we have in rural India. And that's the work that Srivaths and team have been doing for us at Spice Money, because basically we want to see how technology can help solve problems in rural India, right?
Correct.
And of course, when you talk about the addressing system, one of the things that Aadhaar has done is given every individual an identity. And now with Pata, you're trying to give the location a more specific identity, right?
Right.
So it's not just knowing the individual, it's also knowing the location, specific location where the individual is. And we know that, what we've built out on the back of Aadhaar has been quite revolutionary. So Srivaths, you want to just talk through in terms of how we at Spice Money have leveraged the biometric authentication platform to solve for real problems on the ground in rural India as Spice Money?
Sure. So just to give a background, Spice Money is India's largest rural fintech organization. We've got around about 1.2 million merchants today active. And out of this, all these merchants, we have provided a financial services platform, a digital platform for them to serve the rural India. There are three major areas where we have covered. One is the payments ecosystem. Second is Lendtech for the merchants. And third is the travel tech that we built for the merchants ecosystem. Now, when it comes specific for the payments ecosystem, we've got capabilities built in like Aadhaar-enabled payment system, which is a very simple combination of biometric devices, where a person in a rural India who doesn't have an access to an ATM, or you don't have sufficient infrastructure in terms of financial services ecosystem ATM points available, our merchant points, which we call as Spice Money Adhikaris, are the one who serves the rural population in terms of cash deposit, cash withdrawal, domestic money transfer, cash management system, and there are various other financial products that we're looking out for. It looks very simple for the front-end interface for the customer as well as the Adhikari, but in the back-end, it's a very complex infrastructure where it is stitched. It connects to the UIDI for biometric authentication, it connects to the NPCI, and it connects to the banks, both the banks, acquirer bank and the ecosystem bank. Now, the most important thing is in any of these legs, at any point in time, the connectivity can get disrupted. But what we have to ensure for the rural India is the merchant who is sitting at the point, his platform has to work at any point in time, and he has to serve the end customer who is standing in the queue, irrespective of the issues which are there at the back. So the technology plays a very critical role in terms of user interface and experience also that we create in these platforms to serve the rural India. The amount of time that it takes for cash withdrawal should be easier and far lesser than the time it takes for you to physically walk into an ATM and withdraw it. And that is the kind of facility that we have extended to the rural India right now. Now, he's got a one-stop shop platform where he not only gives cash deposit withdrawal, but if a customer walks into the merchant points and wants to book his flight, train ticket, and other travel-related products, even that gets served into it. Similarly, when we have the understanding of this merchant and this transaction data along with bureau scores, we extend the lending products to these merchants. Today, we are focused in B2B platform and give him the B2B platform to serve to the end customers. Our vision in future is to see how we can extend this to the B2C customers as well. What becomes very important for us is, like you rightly said, we are completely regulated. We have BBPS and PPI license, and we are also banking correspondent to various banks. And being a fintech player, we are the front end. So we take full accountability. We are heavily regulated by RBI guidelines, which means when it comes for biometrics, when it comes for frauds, when it comes for checks and balances, we are fully accountable, and we need to build that digitally in the ecosystem. So time is of an essence in terms of scalability, robustness, better user interface and experience, and also collecting the data in the backend to better serve the end consumers through our Adhikaris. That's what we have built in Spice Money.
So Rajat, between what Srivaths is doing and what you're doing, right, effectively, we are trying to solve different problem statements, right? But I think as we think of rural India, right, I think, everything needs to be done at scale, right? Because if you're talking about 600,000 villages, the reach of this is very deep interiors, right? Access is a problem and all of that, right? So I think the idea that smartphones have reached villages before roads have reached villages, right? How do we use to the hilt, right? Which is smartphone and internet connectivity, right? So maybe I'd encourage both of you to take a little step back from what you do on day to day. And let's just reflect on the fact that today, when rural India has lack of access, whether it's lack of access to goods, lack of access to capital, when I talk about capital, I'm talking about like formal capital, right? And lack of access to goods, because to your point, Rajat, maybe goods are not even able to reach them, right? Because many people, you can call out and say, okay, where are you? But maybe in rural India you cannot, right? Many people don't even have access to basic phones, right? For example. So I think the question is, but technology can solve for problems at scale, right? So maybe let's just reflect on the fact that, Rajat, as you think about rural India, right, beyond what you're doing, right, where do you see technology playing a role in solving challenges in rural and semi-urban India, right? Just from what you understand of what technology can enable, and there's a lot of this digital public infrastructure that is also getting built out, right? Whether it's the Oaken platform, ONDC, account aggregator, multiple things happening, right, in the ecosystem. Rajat, what's your view, right? How do you see technology helping solve problems at scale, which are unique?
Right. I see a huge scope over there when you talk about rural India. Now people are having access to internet, people are having access to smartphones, they are used to it. You see, even on the social media side of it, you see a lot of engagement from the rural part of India. And when you talk about fintech, so UPI was one great example, which was executed so well. And before it was launched, it was just a dream that everybody could do internet-based payment. And it was like, people are just doing 5 rupee, 10 rupees of payment also on UPI. So it seemed that it will not happen, but it has really turned out really well. And when you talk about rural India, now people are used to smartphone. They're used to I would say the user interface which are coming from different apps and different products. So it is becoming a lot more easier for products like Spice Money or Pataa to solve the basic problem. It is just for us, we are solving a great problem. It is just how we make them aware about that we are solving this problem, and people could understand it and have access to a location or have access to capital. Moving forward, I would say in rural India, with this digital infrastructure, which is like, I would say now 5G is also almost in most of the places in the city, and at least 4G is available in the rural India. It is becoming very fast. And I see a great scope over there that all the loans and financial services, because I was reading somewhere that in India, almost like 53% of people were excluded from the financial products such as loan, insurance, and other form of all the credits and financial services. But in 2025, I see in 2 years from now, I think it will be the biggest job creator from the rural India. Companies like Spice Money, who has been working in typically those areas, e-commerce especially, because right now they don't have a formal address to write even on the e-commerce platform. So they are not able to register themselves as a seller. They are not able to register themselves as a buyer. So both the things are not happening. So there's a huge gap over there. But I think within a couple of years from now, that problem should also solve with a lot of depth going into it and all the dots being connected. So like it is evolving day by day. You guys also, it's not day one you launch a product and become successful. You go, you do the consumer behavior studies, and then you get the right feedback from users and why they are not clicking on this thing, why they are not using this feature, why they are not doing this. So it evolves, and I feel it is still a couple of years from now, 2025. I see that a lot of things could be interconnected, and like rural areas should be definitely benefited from them.
So if Rajat, if I'm an entrepreneur, right, and I want to solve for challenges for people at large, and we have a significant amount of population which lives in rural India, right? And if for entrepreneurs listening to us, the idea is that if we want to, kind of talk to them saying, how do you, enter rural India and solve for problems? Like you mentioned, what you're trying to do with Pataa, capital is not a constraint, right? Because, all this digital public infrastructure can be leveraged. Is there a way, because many people may think, oh, these are too complex problems and, will I have the capital to solve these problems, right? Is capital a constraint for someone wanting to solve problems? And access to technology and capital, is that a constraint?
I think building a technology is not that difficult because we've got the right resources in the country, a lot of tech people around. We can do that. Secondly, like to take this product to scale is also easy. The only constraint when you talk about capital, why capital is needed, is to do the brand awareness of product like Spice Money or Pata. How do you reach out to people and make them aware of that we have created such product? That's the only challenge, and that can only be solved by the marketing part of it, the brand awareness part of it, or otherwise it will take 10 years to reach to the right like people, right? How do you let people know that we are solving this problem? Because what you are solving or what we are solving at Pata, with Pata, it's a behavioral change. It's like earlier days, people were doing SMS and now you just say, okay, मुझे WhatsApp कर दो. That's a behavioral change. बहुत बड़ा shift है. So with those kind of behavioral change, that imagine if India does that, that stop talking addresses and everybody talks कि यार मुझे तेरा पता भेज दे. If that becomes the language of address, if that becomes the language of communication, it becomes very easy to go and just make it to the scale, reach it to the masses. But to make it happen, I think the capital is needed. Once, not at large, just for the brand awareness, is marketing of it to actually convey that what problem you are solving, what customer you are targeting, and how you can help them ease their problems. So that is the only thing where capital is needed, I believe. Rest else, everything can be solved.
Srivaths, the way you're thinking about the whole Spice Money tech platform business, is there an opportunity where entrepreneurs can integrate with the Spice Money platform to solve for challenges in rural India?
Absolutely. See, the first is if you look at all the Spice Money entrepreneurs, they not only leverage our platform for payment transaction system, they have their own business model as well, which means some of them are either digital stores, kirana stores, and they have got their own business model. And when they work on their own business model, of course, there are two-pronged strategy that comes into their mind. How do I scale my existing business and how do I grow my relationship more with the Spice Money asset? So here comes the opportunity for Spice Money. So just for an example, if you have got a Spice Money merchant with you right now, he's a guy who is having a physical shop with a 5 kilometers to 25 kilometers radius. He has got a customer access. I want you all to visualize and think that if I extend my platform in such a way to him that he gets a digital address or a digital asset in front of him in the form of a website with the capability of connectivity with ONDC in the backend, where he has got a complete access of inventories which he can serve and provide to his customer. And assuming that I have got a Pata kind of an app which is integrated out here, and he has a courier guy delivering everything for him and he serves the end customers, then it becomes a one-stop shop through technology which Spice Money can solve for the businessmen and merchants. And that's what we are looking out for solving as well. Now, while we do this, the most important reason is we need to do this is we need to collect data. What happens is when you collect data about his transaction, his information, his behavior, and his life cycle about his business, then we get this, with this information, we can help him to grow his business. And that's where the stickiness comes in, his loyalty comes in, and then it becomes a complete consumption product. And then you become a platform as a service, and in the backend can be a complete India stack. If you just take a step back, a life of a rural person in India, right? The first 4-5 things that we need to solve for rural India or a merchant is health, education, access to capital, commerce, delivery, food. Now, if you look at the public infrastructure being created in India stack, they are getting all the manufacturers in their platform and creating an API is giving to us. If you aggregate all this API and extend to a singular platform through Spice Money and extend it to the merchant's problem is solved and end consumer problem is also solved, which includes even other government-related activities like, say, Umang. A lot of certificates and government-related informations are available, which can be done digitally online. But the point out here is, it will take some more time for rural India to become 100% digital. So the digital assisted journey will empower them to get into that path. There is a learning curve which they have to go through. And here is where the Spice Money Adhikari will play a very significant role.
Correct.
Yeah.
Actually, I just second that, because what you're saying is like you need to give health, infrastructure, food, all the things to this rural part of India, especially. The first very important thing after identifying the person right, you need to identify the location right. That's the most important. How do you reach and give him an ambulance service? We are talking about drones in today's world. We have seen like our Prime Minister also, our Civil Aviation Minister also. Everybody is after drones. That drones would be the next big thing in India, and we should start delivering with drones. How do you explain drone an address that, okay, you have to deliver to this house in this village? How do you explain that? You don't have anything, right? So we have launched Pataa for drones as well recently. That way you can just say, okay, ship it to Rajat 01 and you know exact let long has been shared with this drone itself, and they can actually deliver all of those things. So I agree that to give all of that thing, all of that infrastructure, you need a lot of information. And when it is integrated with platforms like Pata or Spice Money or any other digital infrastructure company which are being, like, we are solving this problem of rural India, I think that would be a great initiative. We can work together.
So I think my compliments to both of you. I think you're really helping build really core digital infrastructure assets on the ground. Rajat, with you building out Pata, this whole addressing system, I think this will be very, very powerful as you reach out to households in rural India. And Srivaths, with you building out the entire kind of digital banking infrastructure, which of course starting with rural India, because that's where the maximum lack of banking infrastructure in terms of bank branches and ATM machines are. I think there's so much more opportunity for people to, join hands to building this digital infrastructure. So, when you talk about physical infrastructure, roads, highways, as they're connecting our villages of India, digital infrastructure is in fact taking a lead and solving for many problems. So,
Right.
I'm really excited by the work that all of us together are doing in this space. And I just hope that we can have more and more entrepreneurs join us to leverage technology to solve for challenges in rural India. So thank you so much, Rajat and Srivaths, for taking out time to join us at this Chopal. We hope to stay connected, and I hope that with work both of you are doing, we can make sure that consumers can not only be provided access to formal capital, but Rajat be able to get a location identity so that people can actually reach them exactly to their doorstep versus having to ask someone how to get there.
Right.
So thank you. My compliments to both of you, and thank you for joining us. All the best.
Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you.